Here. So we've got Reed Perryman with us, our Director of Public Sector Sales, and the guy who definitely knows what he's talking about today. And then myself, Mark Indelicato, Content Marketing Specialist, and I'm going to be your host for the day.
Line here, and what RCN is going to focus on today is a number of LTE and 5G routing solutions. And LTE and routing solutions are approved in ECF. A couple things to point out that subsection 28 does define that routers and devices that combine a modem and router are applicable for ECF funding. And then in subsection 59, it specifically calls out how Wi-Fi hotspots on school buses and bookmobiles for libraries are a cost-effective means to fill in connectivity gaps. So we're in the dead center of the filing window for this reimbursement fund. And if you're a school district leader today, you definitely have time because that window closes on August 13th. So approximately 3 weeks left on that. So key here is that there are constraints on hotspots and connected device solutions. I believe hotspots you can get up to $200 reimbursement, for connected devices up to $450 per device. With routers and any kind of solution that is ancillary to a router and accessory to a router to make it perform as needed, there's no reimbursable limit. So that's the exciting thing. And I think overall, this is a very unprecedented, once in a lifetime opportunity for schools to be able to take advantage of this funding stream and get some of those solutions that they might have been eyeing but had no way to fund for a while now. So that being said, Mark, we can move on from this.
All right. There we go.
Okay, so we've got 3 RCN kitted solutions that we prepared that are ECF eligible today. Again, we're going to be talking about that subsection that calls out routers and modems and devices necessary to connect a router and modem. All 3 of these are designed to take advantage of that clause within ECF for full reimbursement. So what we're going to talk about is the rolling Wi-Fi center kit for buses, the pop-up network kit for last mile, flexible and durable connectivity, and then lastly, the public hotspot kit, where we can turn some of your existing infrastructure like parking lots or parks and rec, pavilions, so on and so forth, into drive-up connectivity centers for your community or for other agencies in your community that use your school district as a meeting point. So let's jump in with a rolling Wi-Fi center kit.
Yep, sounds good.
So the rolling Wi-Fi center kit is exactly as it sounds. The idea is that we are going to integrate a 5G and or LTE solution onto a bus and effectively turn that bus into a mega hotspot, to put it in a layman's term. But what's the goal here? By putting the Wi-Fi on the bus, we're effectively extending our classroom experience and connectivity time for those kids that do have long commutes, right? Depending on where a student might be in their route, they could have up to a 2 to 3 hour commute in some extreme cases. So if they had a way to knock out their homework on their school district issued device, like a Chromebook or a tablet on that commute home, then that's definitely a great way to extend that classroom time or that learning time. Secondly, what we've had a lot of school districts do with this type of solution is park buses strategically throughout underserved communities where internet access might not be as equitable due to a number of socioeconomic or other reasons. So what school districts have done is they've parked router-enabled buses in these communities, so at an apartment complex or a trailer park, so on and so forth, where they can really reach a large number of students at one time. And that's also an effective way to just increase that time after hours, either during the nights, during the weekends, during breaks, or during the summer, so kids can continue learning. And then lastly, and what is a great point for your transportation directors and your superintendent and your security folks there at the school district, is that buses are often rolled up into that disaster recovery plan for the county that they find themselves in or the city they find themselves in. And having a totally wireless air-gapped internet connection point on those buses is a great way to spin up a mission-critical internet source in the event of a massive wireline outage as a result of a natural disaster or otherwise. So all in all, we're integrating really name your flavor of LTE or 5G router. There's a lot on the market today. So Cradlepoint, Peplink, Sierra, Digi, so on and so forth. RCN, we're the LTE and 5G enablement experts. And so we'll work with you depending on what you'd like to see on your bus and what your needs are on the bus to make sure that it's the right solution at the right price point for you through ECF. So that's the Rolling Wi-Fi Center Kit, and it's a great solution that many districts are applying for through the ECF fund.
Awesome. Let's see, run here. All right.
So the second solution that we prepared for you all today, and the second ECF eligible solution, is the RCN pop-up network kit. And so you're going to see some visuals there on the right-hand side. And what I will point out is that this is a ruggedized Pelican style case in which we have integrated a 5G or 4G LTE router, a battery, an antenna, and necessary constant power source accessories and charging accessories to give school district leaders, whether it's the transportation department, the IT department, the athletic department, or otherwise, some great last mile connectivity at the push of a button. So a couple use cases here that we've seen school districts and libraries use. First and foremost, kind of during COVID, it was primarily used to augment distance learning networks. They would schedule a time for, let's say, a library to truck roll their bookmobile out into the community. They would throw this out, and that would be great additional connectivity source for students. An IT director might plan to have this deployed at a community center somewhere. Maybe it's the public library. Maybe it is the rec center, something of that nature. Again, so kids can come up, social distance, maybe in the parking lot, be able to take advantage of this connectivity solution. So other use cases that are very popular with this solution are throwing them, instead of going for a permanently installed solution like our rolling Wi-Fi center kit, where the router is permanently installed and hooked to that vehicle's electrical system, a school district IT leader might decide that, hey, we want something a little bit more flexible than that. Maybe we only want to focus on our athletic buses. Maybe we just want to focus on our activity buses and be able to throw those on for our really long haul commute student athletes on game night, for them to be able to knock out that homework ahead of the game instead of having to go home and somehow do it late at night effectively. So that's one thing. And keeping in that same hypothetical situation, we've also had IT leaders and athletic folks at school districts express that it's great not only to throw on that athletic bus, but to also take it right off the athletic bus when they get to the field and march it right up to the press box to be able to do some live broadcasting of that sports event. Yeah. And you have to think of other events like cross country, where you might want to film the finish line. Oftentimes, depending on where that might be, you're going to need a solution that can go that last mile, and it's not going to be reliant on a constant power source or a wire line. So all in all, this is a really, really great solution. The last thing I will say is that in terms of emergency preparedness connectivity, again, because this is air gapped and not reliant on a constant power source or a wire line, as long as that battery's charged, which that battery can support the unit full use for about 16 hours. This is an effective, rapidly deployable network in a crisis situation to secure a mission critical connectivity point for communications with local law enforcement, first responders, or otherwise. So all in all, this has been an immensely popular solution for ECF, with a number of libraries and a number of school districts applying for it. But really, again, just a great way to get that last mile connectivity for your pop-up events, for your concession stands out at a sports field, for your press box, for your athletic buses, so on, so forth. So great solution. And of course, we integrate, like I said, a 4G LTE or a 5G router that is cloud manageable. So there is an asset management component from the software side as well. So all in all, an immense amount of value, and a lot of school district leaders are finding some great use out of this.
Yeah, just to, I have a quick question for you. Just on the pop-up network kit, would that be your recommendation for, say, like a science class going into a national park and, maybe logging species, or doing some sort of, maybe like high school science level type field trips, right? The pop-up network kit, would that work to enable something like that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's one area I didn't touch on, but in the same vein as we talked about activity buses specifically pertaining to athletic events, it's the same use case for any kind of field trip. So if you think about that high school biology class that's going out to a national park, let's say it's Florida, let's say it's the Everglades, and they're looking to do a little bit of categorization of plants, animals, insects, so on and so forth. Or maybe they're not doing something that quite elaborate, but maybe they're just going somewhere outside on the greater school campus that they can't get the Wi-Fi signal from the main building, and they want to do some kind of augmented reality or some kind of virtual reality out there in an outdoor classroom or otherwise. Really with those two applications, a 5G router is definitely going to be the way to go within this pop-up network kit. Be able to provide a very consistent pipe with a lot of bandwidth to support some of those more intensive applications. But really, again, great question, Mark. Absolutely a slam dunk solution for any of the field trip needs that a school might have.
Great. Yeah. Thank you for that answer.
Yep.
Let's switch over to our next solution then.
Yeah, and this is the last solution that we have prepared from an ECF standpoint, and a popular solution as well. Like I said at the outset when we're overviewing the three solutions we were going to cover today, this one is really aimed at taking advantage of existing assets across campuses there in the school district. So namely parking lots, and at a Parks and Rec level, these can easily be hung on their parking lot poles or pavilions to give basically a giant access point for internet connectivity with a 4G or 5G backhaul from one of the major providers. And so what we've done here is we've put together a number of solutions. You can see that in the upper right corner, but you've got a secure weatherproof NEMA enclosure to help whatever device is inside withstand the heat, cold, weather elements, just to protect that resource. But the router that you see there in the center with the green terminal box there, that is actually a fully ruggedized PepLink 5G router or a 4G LTE router for that matter, depending on availability in your area. But that's integrated into that NEMA enclosure, mounted on an aluminum mounting plate. And then an antenna that you see on the left is mounted on top of that enclosure. That's going to pull in the cellular signal from your carrier, also broadcast the Wi-Fi out to the community. And then we also have solar panel options available or non-solar, depending on if you can tap into a pole or have some other constant power source, as in the case with many pavilion installations in a park. But the great thing about this is that we integrate PepLink for a reason. Not only does it have a robust cloud management system, but it also supports some enterprise Wi-Fi deployment capabilities, such as mesh networking, meaning you can roam from hotspot A to hotspot C, and they're on opposite ends of that parking lot. And you're going to be able to hand off to B and then to C ultimately in between, depending on the strength of the network connection at any time. You get that level of prioritization and handoff just like you would with an enterprise access point architecture that's backhauled by your primary LAN connection there at that campus. And then also you do get captive portal capabilities. So if you were to want to control who gets on the network, if you were to want to put in some kind of hold harmless clauses to protect the school district there in the T's and C's section, put your logo there before the community connects or students connect, or even assign time allotments to be able to connect to the network, or data allotments that clients can use before they're booted off of the network until the next day. There's a lot of control built into that captive portal. But overall, this is just a great solution that can be installed in, like I said, parking lots. And then I always want to tie it back into the public safety emergency preparation angle as well. A lot of times, first responders that are responding to something out in the county or community might use the local school district as a meeting point. And what this would provide them would be a secure, high availability access point for them to all corporately connect to instead of trying to find some other viable connectivity source. So overall, a really great solution. The point to extend that connectivity to the community outside of normal classroom time, but B, also be able to provide a high availability emergency network in the event that first responders have to truck roll on site. So overall, the public hotspot kit is another great solution that RCN has brought and is completely ECF eligible.
Yeah, that's awesome, Reed. I actually have another question for you on this one. So, we see the solar panel there, if that's the option someone wants to go with. I know I've seen those Neiman enclosures; they're really good, and I know Peplink's built pretty strong. So, is this something, especially having that cloud connectivity, is this something you can just set up there and it's going to be taking care of itself for as long as you need it to, or is this something you need to send a maintenance guy out to check every month? Like, what is I guess a real life use case of having this deployed look like?
Yeah. So a lot of the units that we've covered today are all completely IP rated. They're military standard. They're built to last, right? They're built to last because they're in deployment environments that aren't your network rack. They're at the building level that's climate controlled, that's shielded from the elements, so on and so forth. So with all the solutions, including the public hotspot kit, not only to your point, do you get that cloud management solution where you can make configuration changes on the fly, you can do speed tests, you can do ping tests, you can do cellular health checks, and you'll get notified if a device goes online for whatever reason. But also, because it is an IP rated military standard device, it is going to hold up to any of the extreme conditions, be that shock, vibration, extreme temperatures, so on and so forth. So any end user that decides to implement one of these solutions today can reasonably expect anywhere from 5 to 7 years. 5 being a good amount of time to have a current piece of technology out and play, what with the fast turnover cycle of technology these days, but 7 at the absolute most. And we've seen that, especially over my career here at RCN, customers having solutions like this for 7, 8 years on the extreme side, with good results reporting that many years down the line. So great question, Mark.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Equally great answer. That's fascinating for sure. So we'll switch on to this next slide here. Yeah, so everything today, like Reed had said, everything's ECF eligible. Again, that deadline is less than what? It's like half a month away now, right?
It's about 2.5 weeks away. Yep.
Yeah, that's wild. I know that it has flown by because I know we started talking about it like a couple months ago, and then it's just we're already here. So yeah, I guess last question I have before we get into polls and the Q&A and everything. Can libraries, schools, and communities all find benefits from any of these solutions? So it's like one more tailored to a different use case, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think that both libraries and schools can find great use out of all 3 solutions we've seen today. For the rolling Wi-Fi center kit, schools obviously can integrate those into buses and then use those buses in a strategic manner to extend that connectivity past classroom hours. But also a library can install one of those solutions on a bookmobile. And as that bookmobile goes out into the community per its schedule to allow community members to check out books, but also allow community members to connect to the internet, then that's a very viable solution. For that matter, the pop-up network kit, we went over exhaustively how schools could use those in a number of ways, from sports broadcasting to athletic buses, activity buses, field trips, community events, so on and so forth. But the library, in the same vein, also has a number of community events out there in the community. So if they need to stand up a secure network, then that pop-up network kit is an incredible solution, let alone if they don't want to pay for the installation costs of getting a router solution permanently installed in their bookmobile. They might consider this solution as something that offers them enough connectivity to the community on board that bookmobile and deployed where it's going to be parked, but also being able to take that off that bookmobile while not in use and into the community for some pop-up networks as well. And then lastly, for the public hotspot kit. So we talked about the school. They can put that in their parking lots as a really great area to turn on to connectivity. But also from a library level, a lot of libraries have a parking lot as well. So they can definitely turn their parking lot into a drive-up connectivity hub. And then I've seen school districts and libraries both partner with a local city or county parks and rec to take advantage of deploying a number of these assets onto park pavilions and shelters, parking lots, so on and so forth, managed by the IT resources at the library or at the school district level, but still an additional footprint and a great partnership there in the local community at the local government level to continue extending that connectivity out to students in need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for going over these with us. Those are some really great solutions. Just a real quick one before we move on is are any of these more popular than the other? I know every use case is different. We weigh pretty heavily everyone's situation before recommending a solution. But just out of curiosity, across the board, what seems to be I guess the most deployable solution that you've seen?
So far this year, the pop-up network kit has definitely been the most sought after solution from the school districts we've worked with. And that's simply because if they don't think they have the manpower to manage 40, 50, 60 routers on their bus fleet, nor that they're confident they'll get the reimbursement funding for it, then
Right.
it's a very easy swing to decide, okay, which one of my buses are the activity buses or the reserve buses? Let's say 10 out of 60. Let's get 10 pop-up network kits, but we've got 5 or 6 schools in our district. Let's get 6 more pop-up network kits and have one at every district, and then maybe one more for the central office. So no matter where we are, we've got a flexible solution that we can stand up secure, reliable connectivity. So they have been very sought after from all the angles I just described. And then, of course, I would say, secondly, the standard bus Wi-Fi play with a rolling Wi-Fi center kit is just something that's tried and true at this point. And so if a school district has the means to do it, then they will. And it's funny, a lot of times you'll see just as much buy-in from the transportation director as the technology director, because the transportation director understands all of his camera systems that he can tie in and all of his different safety software, so on and so forth, to make that bus more efficient and safe for the students as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. And that actually kind of ties into our next poll just a little bit here, more about education solutions. So hopefully we've been able to answer some of your most pressing questions so far. But if you're still unsure of anything, number one, I would recommend, again, asking us a question using the Q&A feature in the menu bar. And then number two, I wanted to share these 3 avenues that we have available where you can learn more about these education solutions in general. So number one is our webinars. We cover a ton of topics overall, but I feel like education topics probably pop up, I don't know, would you say like once or twice every month or two, Reed? Something around there that we do?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So additionally, if there's anything you guys would love to learn more about in this format, please reach out. We can make it happen. Absolutely. Number two is our news and articles. So outside of webinars, we curate news, articles, press releases, etc., on a variety of topics. You can find all of this and more on our website, www.rcntechnologies.com. And then lastly, I want to say keep up with us on social media. So this is where we share a ton of information on our webinars, articles, new events, things, everything going on. It's a great place to just go and give us a follow, and you'll find lots of useful information there. But again, it's a great way to engage with us. If you have any questions, you think about after the webinar, you can reach out to us there. Or if you have any advice or need any advice about connectivity issues you might be facing, we're always happy to talk with you guys and to get to know you through there. So Reed, you want to let them know how RCN can help?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I mentioned kind of our identity statement earlier on during the outset of the webinar, but who do we believe we are? Simply this: 5G and LTE enablement specialists. So what does that mean? It means that we partner with all the cutting edge 5G and LTE technology manufacturers. We partner with the carriers, so you don't have to be the subject matter expert. So you can come to RCN with confidence that we hold the knowledge and expertise to navigate you to a successful deployment to resolve any number of your pain points or meet some of those primary business objectives you have with one of these solutions. So not only that, but I will say we have a full technical support staff on our back end as well. And a number of our customers or all of our customers that deploy through RCN can expect, not only will they get that solution deployed with care, with thoughtfulness, with success, but also they can have that tier 1, tier 2 support on the back end for that device's lifetime. So we want to take care of our folks. And like we said, at the end of the day, it's our job to keep you connected because we know that connection is everything towards driving to your business drivers and goals. So that's who we are. That's what we do. And a lot of times we'll even come out to you to do the installation on that bus or deploy those pop-up network kits or even install those public hotspot kits as well. So with the installations in 50 states, there's not a single place that we won't go. But that's who we are. That's how we can help.
Q&A session. If you guys have, again, anything, be sure to drop them into the Q&A section here, but I'll just go with the first couple that I see. Number one, how future-proof are these technologies, Reed? I know you kind of touched on this a little bit ago, but yeah, what's your answer to that?
Yeah, so when we talk about future proofing, we're not necessarily talking about the longevity or shelf life of these products once they're deployed. We want to talk about, is there an integrated pathway to upgrade, say, from a 4G LTE router solution to a 5G routing solution? And the answer is absolutely yes, depending on what OEM manufacturer router modem model that you deploy. So a number of these, like Cradlepoint's platform with their IBR 1700, or even the 900 or the R1900, their 5G device with a dual modem dock, will support either LTE today and then be upgradable to 5G tomorrow when their new module modem comes out that you can slot into that second slot. But also, as 5G continues to improve, those module modems will continue to improve. And so you might have 5G today, and it's really the first iteration or a Cat 20 modem on 5G, but they might come out in a year from now, a Cat 24 modem that takes advantage of more carrier aggregation technologies, more of that 5G spectrum for a better throughput pipe and end user experience with reduced latency and everything you're seeking for a true wireless experience to be a good solution for you. So not only Cradlepoint though, Peplink also has a number of models that support module modems, Sierra as well, and so on and so forth. So there's a number of options out there where if future proofing is high on your priority list, if you're going to invest the money, it certainly would be on mine, that we can steer you towards, that will give you the solution you need today with that upgrade path to extend that overall life and efficacy of that unit tomorrow.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that answer. That was great for sure. Let's see. Second one, can you guys help with navigating the ECF application process? Reed, have you done anything in this area?
Yeah, we actually can. So we've had a number of IT leaders at school districts, superintendents, transportation directors reach out to us through our marketing efforts and outbound efforts, and even some of our existing customers in the K-12 arena, and ask, what's the best way to go about this? And so we always make sure to not only help navigate them to local resources there at the state level, in terms of state E-rate consultants, but also point them towards that ECF landing page on the FCC's website where they can read the act, read what's covered, read the terms and conditions, and then find links to go forth and submit their application for reimbursement and approval on a number of these projects. So whether they're trying to put Wi-Fi on their buses, they're trying to get a few pop-up network kits to have that ultimate flexibility, they're trying to turn their parking lots into connectivity hubs, then for certain we can partner with them and help strategize with them for the most effective way to deploy those solutions and be successful with an ECF application.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for answering that one. Next, we've got, in case I am unable to make it in the time slot, are you guys able to assist in bid desks, or performing bid desks, I guess? What would you say to that, Reed?
Yeah, so it almost sounds like the person that asked this question is looking more in and around how can we assist with any kind of local required competitive process where you do have to collect 3 quotes, or perhaps it's over your large dollar threshold for purchasing that's got to go out to RFQ or RFP. So a couple things there. One, we can definitely, as we've walked through here, help determine the right solution for you. We can do demos, proof of concept, so on and so forth. And then we can also, if it has to go out to a formal RFP or RFQ, we can help customers write that scope of work section or the technical specification section according to the solution that we both agreed was the right solution. And so we've definitely done that before and are glad to help customers do that need help with that. But secondly, I did want to point out that under ECF, there is verbiage in some of the subsections that indicates that ECF is not beholden to a standard competitive E-rate process that you might be familiar with, where you have to submit a Form 470. Folks like RCN have to bid on it, and then there's got to be an award process in conjunction with USAC and disbursement of funds, the whole 10 yards. So what I will say is a lot of our end users are finding, you know what, we don't have to bid this out. And that's a great thing, because bids usually slow down the process significantly. And in the event where there's just not a lot of procurement staff to help out or IT staff to help write that bid, that's a godsend as well. So I don't know if I answered the heart of that question for this person, but I gave it my best effort and hopefully gave some useful bits of information along the way.
I believe it sounded good. Last question that's in here. Do you know if things like continued tech support are covered by ECF? Oh, that's actually a good question.
So what I will say to that is ECF is pretty, it also reimburses wireless service from the carriers up to $25 a month per endpoint device. And it only does that for a year right now. So that funding will run dry basically, I believe it's either a year from that SIM card being turned on, or they've defined that end date as June 30th. I hope it's the first, not the latter. But in that same vein, there isn't anything about supporting a managed service agreement from a technical company like RCN. Companies certainly are submitting installation as a required service or component of that router and modem, and we're seeing if they're going to be successful with that once USAC starts approving applications after the closing or the filing window closes. But I will say, and I mentioned this earlier, if you do purchase with RCN any of these solutions, you can feel security in the fact that we are going to include tier 1 and 2 technical support, basically unlimited, is an extension of that customer's IT desk. So if it's a one-man band at a smaller school district, or it's a 2 or 3 man band, again, at a smaller rural school district, they can be confident that they're going to have somebody on the other side that's going to support them through the lifetime of this deployment. So to answer the question directly, with RCN, you don't really have to pay for that support anyway. You're getting it from RCN as that trusted partner for 5G and LTE routing solutions.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Thank you, Reed. And that's all we've had for the Q&A. So I think we're just about ready to wrap this up. URL back on there again, and just a thank you. With this, we've reached the end of our presentation. Before we end, I do want to let everybody know that our next webinar is going to be August 12th at 2 p.m. Eastern. The topic is generating a positive ROI by replacing your POTS lines. So something that just about any organization is going to have. So make sure to go to our LinkedIn page to register for this event if it sounds interesting to you. Reed, do you have any parting words for our audience today?
The only thing I would remind our audience today is that if you're interested in how you can take advantage of the Emergency Connectivity Fund, don't wait. Reach out to myself, just reach out to somebody on my team, the public sector team here at RCN Technologies, and start that conversation earlier than later, because we are in about 2.5 weeks left of the application filing period. I know if you're down here in the Southeast, school is just around the corner. And so, it might be tight with technical resources out on campus working on infrastructure and deploying new infrastructure. But don't wait, right? Don't let this opportunity pass anyone by, because it truly is an unprecedented amount of funding being given to LTE and 5G driven solutions that, frankly, we might never see again. There's talk that the carrier cellular services might be approved onto Category 1 E-rate services, Category 1 typically involving anything involving a wireline ISP and the build out necessary for that network. And there might be a chance that some of these router solutions like Cradle Point or Peplink will be approved in Category 2, which is more around hardware, but it's not a given, right? So take advantage of this opportunity while it's here now. Reach out to RCN to learn more, if you are interested. And we'll do everything we can to make sure that we can help you be successful in capturing some of those ECF dollars and deploying a solution that's going to increase connectivity for your students there in your community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Reed, for that. And then thank you really just for talking with us today. These were some excellent solutions that we have here. And you really do a great job of putting them into an easy to understand format. So thank you for that. Thank you as well to our audience today. Really enjoy you guys spending 45 minutes with us. We're actually wrapping up a little early, but yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out on social, reach out to Reed and his team. You can visit the URL here. It's a great way to get in touch with us. But outside of that, really appreciate everybody's time today and hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Yep. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, everyone.